thank you, Colonel Driscoll, for being one of the many people to go like, oh, come on, man, you got to have a ceremony. Like, all right, fine. And then it kind of got out of hand, and this is what you get when you playing at the last second. Don't turn off your phone, apparently. So, I did write down some notes, but as usual, like with my classes, I'm not going to probably follow any of them. So I'll be making most of this up on the fly. Again, thank you, Colonel Coach and Colonel Driscoll, Chris and Lem, and everybody here who helped me out planning this, and of course who's here, all my friends and family, of course my children, Angela, Rod, Kayla, my extended family. It's truly an honor to have you all here for this still seemingly very surreal day that I thought would never happen. And the reason I thought this would never happen is many, because one, I thought I would have been fired by now, if not here, my many transgressions, at least throughout my career, for my other many transgressions, as my friend Fred would know, and my other military friends over there know that I am not an angel, I suppose. But what it really comes down to is that when I was a kid, I had no aspirations of joining the military whatsoever. I grew up listening to my grandfathers a little bit talk about it, but my grandmother would say, like, don't ask him about it. He was really kind of messed up because my grandfather Garbers was a Omaha Beach veteran, first wave, saw everybody in his entire platoon go just like Saving Private Ryan. So he didn't talk about it much. My other grandfather is somewhat similar, didn't talk about it much. So it really was never spoken about in our history of our family. It was just sort of a forbidden kind of a topic. So it wasn't really brought up. The best I ever had was my mom found a whole bunch of Army guys, the little green Army guys at a garage sale, and I used to play with those all the time. That's about the extent of my military experience. That, my Sergeant Rock comic books from my dad. So did not grow up listening to the exploits of my grandfather, my uncles in the Vietnam War, and that kind of stuff. So I'm really the only one who's ever volunteered in my family to join the military. Now the reason I did that is because my dad got sick with cancer. Some of you know this. I was going to be an engineer, civil engineer, just build roads and bridges, just like my dad kind of did, and that was about it. And nothing wrong with that, of course, but it would not have led down towards this particular avenue of my life. And he came out with cancer. They sat me down one day and said, "Hey, just want to let you know, one, Dad might die." Okay, yeah, got it. But you might have to find another way to pay for school. So, like many, I said, well, how am I going to pay for school? I don't know. So about 2 weeks later, I come home from wherever I was at that day, and my mom goes, "Oh, so what'd you do today?" "Oh, I joined the Army." She loses her mind because she's like, "What are you talking about? Not my little boy," that kind of thing. So yeah, she was not happy with me. She was crying and all this kind of stuff. You can get out of it, right? Like, no, I signed the papers. I'm pretty much going. So I was in a bad way in the house for a long time. So joined out of high school, went in. The funniest story was, though, the whole time I'm in basic training, I'm getting the crap beat out of me. I was so out of shape and didn't know how to do anything. I was literally 170 pounds at 6'3", 220 now. That gives you an indication. So yeah, I was not doing well. And I get a letter about 3 weeks into basic training from my dad. He goes, "Hey, good news. Well, one, I'm not dying. Okay, cool. Two, I got a job at the University of Toledo, so now you don't have to pay for school." "Drill Sergeant, can I get out of this?" "No." "Okay, all right." Yeah, so that was the illustrious beginning of my career. And I was enlisted, I was a reservist, and then I was like, "Oh, yeah, this is pretty cool. I kind of like it." And then Desert Storm happened. We almost went. I was excited and like on. So I joined LTC, got a commission there at the University of Toledo, and started my military career there. Again, no intention on staying in for 25 years total. It just sort of happened that way. Along the way, obviously a lot of really great times, a lot of really, really bad times. But I always wanted to bring this up is, believe it or not, a reserve first sergeant brought this up to me one time. I'm like E3, I'm like private first class or specialist Koenigseker. I'm out there literally doing the Army thing, standing in the foxhole like this, looking out at nothing. There's like no fence around me. It's literally just a symbolic foxhole watching a gate going, there's some barbed wire shot across the road. Everybody just walking like, "Hey, what's up?" I'm like, yeah. It's literally the stupidest thing I've ever done in my life. So I'm there. I had to do that like 5 days in a row, and it was just horrible. It was hot, or it was raining, whatever. I think this is the stupidest thing. I am so done with this Army crap. So I go up to the first sergeant and I go, first top, this is stupid. I hate this. I want out of here so bad. When my time's up, I quit. This is one of those old grizzled first sergeants that you see in the movies. You know, the guy always somehow always has a little bit of scruff at 10 in the morning. You know how he does that. No, he's park biking, I guess. I don't know. Just an old guy, smoked the unfiltered Lucky Strikes. You know, just one of those dudes, and then pretty much put it out in his hand. And he just looks at me and goes, "Look, son, let me tell you something. You never make a career decision when you're out in the field." And on Fort Polk, Louisiana, if everybody's been down there, it's not a pleasant place to be. Mosquitoes, 100 plus degree temperature, 100% humidity, one of those things where rains up because it's just so hot, you know. Almost getting heat prostration, trying to dig a foxhole is pretty miserable. Lots of different places, but I just never gave up. That, my grandfathers, all those things kept me going the whole time. Throughout my career, I've been very, very blessed with a lot of different things. Not only with my jobs, my positions, things I've been able to do, and as a chemical officer, as he mentioned, I've gotten to do a lot of different things. You mentioned the Army really cares about chemical warfare. There's a couple of other Army guys in here, they'll tell you that that's partially right. Most of the time, it's not really, I'm an extra staff guy. So that's one of the reasons I got the job more than anything else, is because I was just an extra dude. So I got all these extra jobs that, again, in most cases I did excel at or trying to do well in anyway, and I got to do a lot of really fun things. So I can never discount that. It's always been a lot of fun. On top of that, I've met so many good people, not only military but also civilians. And as I've traveled, of course, friends that we've met and have held on to for many years. It's been totally worth it. And since I came here, I've had a lot of cadets, excuse me, that have done the cross commissioning thing. If anybody doesn't know what that is, that's the Air Force cadets who want to, for whatever reason, want to join the Army instead. And there's others that want to go the other way, so I'm not saying anything. I'm trying to keep this nice. So I've had a few, but a lot of times they come in and they ask me questions. They go and one of the questions is usually, so did you like it? Especially in here at the end, did you like it, or would you change anything if you can go back? Would you make a different decision? And I very quickly will say every single time, no. I would never make that change. I wouldn't take a different service. I wouldn't do anything different. I mean, maybe I wouldn't go chemical, but that was chosen for me. So I was dumb enough to put it on the form. They were like, "Hey, we got a sucker." So there we go. But again, like I said, that had its pros and cons too. So. But just to go further, I wouldn't have changed anything. Again, I have done and been able to do so many things that most people would never even dreamed of doing. Some horrible, some are really not very nice. But as most people know, in adversity, you learn. Even with the good stuff, you learn well. So even having seen some kind of nasty stuff or done some really hard things, sweated, been hurt, whatever, jumping out of airplanes, or, jumping out of perfectly good helicopters, things like that. Hey, you usually have to pay to do stuff like that. Okay, so I can say I did for free. I got paid to do that. So I don't want to waste any more of your time here. I just want to sit there rambling on at this point. But what I really wanted to do with this whole ceremony is this is not for me, of course. This is for you guys. I wanted to do this. I changed my mind. It's like, you're right, sir. This isn't for me. This is for everybody else. For you guys to enjoy or be thanked by me, because I could never have done any of this without you guys. I mean, literally. Okay, let me go back in that time. Captain Smart, who I knew as a young enlisted soldier. Fred Tongo is one of my first NCOs as a young captain. Those guys were instrumental in keeping me in back in some very bad times, and Fred knows what I'm talking about. Very bad times, and as a team, as a family, they kept me going, and here I am today. Okay, so literally. I've got friends from all over. I've got, of course, Miss Farnsworth there. Obviously, I will say that. I don't care how old you get or if you're married or not. I'll always say Miss Farnsworth. One of my oldest friends and our oldest friends. Always count on her to be a smiling face and fun. See what else we got. I'm trying to go in somewhat chronological order here. Scotty B. Can never forget my friend Scotty when I was there getting my master's degree. Met him in a bar. Shocking as that sounds. Roasting marshmallows. A lot of marshmallows. It really came down to one of those weirdest things where I was just there at the Purple Martini down there in the corner of Larimer and 15th, I think it was. I was at one end of the bar, he was literally at the bar, and we just started chatting, and he goes, you want a job? So I started working security downtown Denver just for kicks. And it ended up being, I know this sounds stupid, but it ended up being a really, really fun, formative time. I met a lot of great people, did a lot of, wonderful things, and to this day, I consider him one of my best friends. I met Brian through him, I met Barbara through him. Again, just one of those little paths, those little branches you do in the military. Everybody here that's from the department, obviously, just huge, huge thanks to all you guys. My last 3 years here have been just wonderful. I couldn't have, I couldn't imagine a more better transitional job to the to the Air Force Academy. Wow, that is awesome.
It's so dysfunctional.
I'd ride a short yellow Humvee to work every day, right? I met everybody from there. I have some friends here that I met through the Waldo Canyon Fire, again, through the adversity. Jason and Mike Beagley here. Again, very good friends. I never would have met you guys had something bad down happen. But these guys are excellent people. They've done so much for this community. Again, it's just amazing how if you stay in long enough and you're alive long enough, I guess, you do some really crazy and fun things. And lastly, of course, I have to thank my family, my children, Alex, Nathan, Maddie, in no particular order. I know I haven't been around all that much just because, for obvious reasons, but you guys really are the lights of my life. I'd do anything for you and do anything to you, I guess, if you did. They know that as well. But, I can't think of a better honor in my life to have you guys in it, to be my children, to be my legacy, if you will. I don't know. I guess a man lives on through his children. I think I am very proud to say that I think I'm going to do pretty good because these are some really damn good kids. If you don't know them, which many of you don't because they don't live here, but some damn good kids. So don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Even me, because I tease them a lot. Rod, I got to thank you as well for your contributions to my family, and they are significant. You know that. And I won't go into any details or anything, but huge. This man's a hero. Keep that in mind. Kayla, that's your dad. He's a hero. I'm embarrassed you, of course. And last but certainly not least, absolutely first, Angela. I almost made it. You had to smile at me, didn't you? Okay. Angela, as most of you know, is no offense, the most important person. She truly has been the guiding light in my life. She's obviously beautiful, she's obviously fun. Everybody really loves Angela. I always joke that I'm just the one that brings her around because I'm like a chauffeur. Everybody goes, is Angie coming? Is Angie coming? Oh, it's just me. Oh, okay. But there's truth behind that, okay? Obviously, I'm not nearly as social and fun as Angela is, but I can't imagine a day in my life where she's not in it. Honestly, could you not? If anybody here knows her, you would never say the same thing, okay? The fact that, when I wake up next to her, when I go to bed at night, when we eat together, we go anywhere, I can look over there and go, wow, that's the reason I want to keep on going. So, I'll just stop there before I get silly. But that's really, thank you so much.